Shaka Solo, Shaka Khan, Shaka Sean Connery.
Hello.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Cool.
Making things happen this week.
Yep.
Oh, it's like old times. It feels like it's been forever since we've both been on it, but it's only been 1 week.
Yeah. Well,
Past 2 weeks have been
yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah. Been real, been real crazy. Just trying to survive.
Yep.
It's tough out there. It's hard out there for those. It's hard out there for a pimp.
As the television show Monk would say, it's a jungle out there.
Oh yeah.
Deep cut.
Oh yeah. I like
Oh,
muck. I said muck. I said muck. I like muck.
all right. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Another episode of Echospective coming right at your ear holes. So be ready. Uh,
Hmm.
are you ready?
Ear hole.
Are you ready,
This is
Marquise?
Marquise. And yes, I am ready. Thank you for listening to Echo Spective,
Echo,
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 Echo, Echo.
ectospective. Are we getting ready for Ghostbusters?
Ah, no, but I can see why someone would say that. The Marshmallow Man is coming.
That's right. Stay puffed. Well, hey, Marquise. Welcome back to the show for you because you were absent last week.
Yeah,
And
I was in the corner. Wasn't absent. I was there, but I was just in the corner.
you were rocking in the fetal position.
There we go. I had some technical difficulties, and I was in
That's
the
right.
corner
That's right. But
preparing
hey,
myself. So, but I'm back now.
it happens. It happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I heard you held it down while I was gone and did a great job.
well, thank you. And we're going to continue today with part two with our friend Rick. Part
Mm.
two. I tell you,
Party.
there this guy has a lot of stories, man. We had to split it up because we just wanted people to yearn for more information, and hopefully they've been yearning for the past week and now they get some more. Um, yeah, Rick's going to continue to take us on that wild ride of what it's like to be a touring manager for a band. It's crazy stuff. It's very cool, I think, personally.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, just listening is just awesome.
Uh,
I
That's
wasn't a tour manager of a band, but I was in a band.
that's right, your Prince band.
Yeah. Hey, we ain't got to say the name. We can just. It sounds cooler when you say I was in a band, but
That's
then when
right.
you say the name of the band, it may not be. You know what? Just ruined it. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
But yeah,
And
Rick is awesome, man. I'm sure. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear what else he has to say.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. Um, and we have this day in music this week as well. Lots of
Absolutely.
we're kind of back in the saddle. Last week was I think sometimes episodes like that are gonna happen. You have those technical difficulties, you have these plans and things laid out, and then sometimes this life happens and you got to roll with it. So we appreciate everyone rolling with us and listening. I haven't checked the metrics in a few days, but last time I looked, they were looking good. Like you
We were
guys,
winning. Winning.
hashtag winning. Uh, thank you, everyone, uh, for listening. It's so cool just to see those
Absolutely.
numbers go up, up, up. And on one of our analytics pages, we can see different states that continue to light up. And if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you've probably seen some pictures posted and just how cool it is to see the reach. Again, listeners in Canada, listeners South Africa and Germany, and who knows where else. There is a part of the analytics page that it just says we don't know where this group of listeners are, but they're listening. So wherever you are, thank you for
Yeah,
listening.
we definitely want to think because a lot of times people don't understand that what we do, we put it out, but we really don't know all the time, majority of the time, if it's really getting out and listening, and we go by that, and that helps
Yeah.
us to say, okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
So please don't feel free to send your comments and let us know that you're listening because that's encouraging to us because we doing this for you guys because we feel like there's a need for people to hear other people's stories for encouragement or whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Mm-hmm.
But we need that response back from you guys to just let us know that hey, we are out here listening and keep doing what you're doing. That's much appreciated. So those that have
Yes.
done that, I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if you happen to be listening and you don't know how to get to all our other stuff, echospective.com. You can go to that website. You can find all sorts of goodies, all the socials, YouTube, the Buy Me a Coffee page. It's all there. We're continuing to build out our Friends of the Show page. So as we continue to talk to people on the show and we want to share their information with you, they're going to end up on that page. So you can keep up with them and find out what they're doing and not just keep up with us.
And just to clarify,
Yes.
social information. You can't find someone's social security number on our site. Just
That's
socials. Your social. So I just want to just clear that up. Like I couldn't
yes.
find mine.
I should put something on the webpage that's like a fake social security number lookup.
This is a universal social security number.
You can find it on echospective.com.
Yeah. And you say jail time for Marquise and Nate.
That's right. We're venturing off into places unknown.
uh yeah, areas that we don't want to go. And
That's right.
we want them to stay unknown.
That
So
is right.
and one more thing, the number is 336-298-8124. So you can call and leave us a message.
Yeah.
336-298-8124. Please do so.
Yeah. If you have a story that you like to share, you want to be on the show and say something cool for everyone to hear, yeah, call that number. Or you can even send us a message from the website. There's a little button there. Or you can just email us at info. Sorry, that, well, I guess that would have been the right way to say it. The email address is info at echospective.com. I got kind of confused when I said at info at inf anyway,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
it's a tongue twister now.
info at echospective.com. I didn't want to put too many ats in there because then the email wouldn't go anywhere.
Yep. And then we'll be sitting here waiting. Like they never responded. Yeah, because we told you the wrong email.
That's right. No wonder we aren't getting anything. Oh,
So you know how to solve that problem? Just send us a message to all of them. Just copy and paste your message, send it to us by email, send it to us Facebook,
that's
YouTube. Just make
right.
one message. And
Carrier
that way we'll
pigeon.
get it.
Yeah, it'll get here somehow.
Put
So
it
with
in a
all
bottle, throw it in the water.
right. Well, with all that being said, let's get into the episode. Say
I
hello to
got
your
you.
mother for me.
Yeah, exactly. So after that band breaks up, I our manager starts managing other bands, and so he's like, "Well, there was a band from New Orleans called Cowboy Mouth that I loved,
Hmm. Yeah.
and we had played with them a few times. Um, 107.5 is a radio station in Greensboro, and they did these big, radio concerts where they would have
Yes.
big festivals and
Yep.
stuff. And so we would be like the first of four bands or the second of the four bands. And the headliners were always, bigger acts um, I don't know, regionally. So like Edwin McCain, who's from like
Oh
South
yeah.
Carolina, would be on those bills. Like one of Eve Six was on one of the bills. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah. My pile
you,
shakes as I hit 80 on the open road.
oh, I love it. Oh man, but they were the first band who we ever saw had like road whores with them. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They get off and it is fully these girls get off glammed out,
Man.
like high stiletto heels, and we're like, they probably picked them up in another town and they're
Yeah.
hitching a ride. I mean, I'm serious. I was like, oh my God, dude, look at those ladies. Crazy. Um
Like from a ZZ Top video.
exactly. She's got legs. So but yeah, so those but Cowboy Mouth was always was sometimes a part of those shows, and we just loved them. I
Yeah.
remember one time we played with them at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, and we were both supporting Days of the New at the time.
Oh,
And they were,
nice.
they were like hard rock, but with acoustic guitars. And by
Yeah.
the way, couldn't have been nicer people. Um,
That's
you
good to
really know
know.
the ones. Yeah, well, you really know the ones who are really, you really appreciate rock stars that are very nice and sweet,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of a-holes out there
Uh-huh.
that do this job. And you're like, man, can you just not be that guy? I mean, um, but so long story short, yeah, our manager was managing Cowboy Mouth at the time. And uh, he's like, man, they need a lighting guy and a guy who's good with drums. And I was like, cool, I'm your guy. I'd love to get back on the road. And he
Yeah.
goes, dude, this is not like Weekend where you are going to do everything. Like I was driving, booking hotels, settling up,
Yeah.
handling all the money, giving out per diems, doing all the tour accounting, all that stuff. You know,
Ugh,
advancing shows, production, everything. It was too much, dude.
man.
I would work, dude. I mean, the hours don't change. You know, you work 13, 18-hour days
Yeah.
doing this. You know, and I'm talking about tour managing. You know,
Yeah.
so that's what we're. And I'm serious. He's like, this is you're not going to have to wear this many hats. I was like, great. That was
Sign
going to be
me
my
up.
next question. Yeah. And he goes, by the way, it's a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off contract. And I'm like, sign me up, baby.
Man.
Yes. And he's like, and it's $500 a week. I'm like, let's go, baby. Come on.
That's
You
big
know,
money.
that was back then.
Yeah.
It's like your second gig. That's
Yeah.
not bad. Uh, you said Cowboy Mouth needs somebody. And I was like, oh, wow. They probably have a tour bus and like
Uh-huh.
legit touring. Like, even if
Probably
even if it's a
bottled
2 week on,
water.
oh dude, even though if it's a 2 week on, 2 week off contract, like dude, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. My first gig is at this is in Columbia, South Carolina with them, and they're headlining this place called Senate Park, which is the biggest club in Columbia. So, Weekend used to do that room, so I was very familiar. Um, and man, our front of house guy, his name was Eddie Pierce, was at the head. So I met first. Um, he is uh, you will love this story. He was an 80s hair metal god. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he was a down in New Orleans, which is where the band's from, Cowboy Mouth is from. He was the front man and lead singer of this band called Knit Speed. And his hair looked like Kip Winger. Okay. It was glorious. Um,
Yeah.
it was glorious. The guy had the greatest, he had the greatest screaming vibrato you've
Uh-huh.
ever seen. It was incredible. And So, but he's also probably one of the greatest sound guys I've ever heard. Like sonically, his taste is perfection.
Nice.
Um, he gets, I don't know how he does what he does, but man, I mean, he's gone on to mix like Glenn Fry and
Oh man.
dude, I mean, I mean, if you can please somebody from the Eagles, you're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything
And now
else is cake.
yeah, now he's just just a baller engineer in New Orleans. I mean, he mixes stuff for, the Superdome and things like that. I mean, he's a monster guy.
Wow.
So uh, it was funny. This is a funny story. The first gig, it was in Columbia, and I step on the bus, and our bus driver, and by the way, obviously somebody who can't really see me. I'm 6'5", and at that time I was 225.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I walk on that bus, and they're like, "Nope." I mean, they're like, you won't even fit on this bus." They just look at me like, "You're not even going to fit." And so they were like, and so they didn't call me by my name. They called me Elizabeth for the first 3 days I was with him, because number one, it's hazing, right?
Yeah.
And one of the guys who's one of my good friends to this day, his name is Paul Sanchez, who's it was their guitar player. He's like, "You're not gonna fit, and I don't want you here." So and his wife was the band's tour coordinator at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, he's like, "I don't want you here, and I don't think you're gonna work. I'm kind of against this." And just
Man.
told me that point blank. And I was like, "Oh man." And I said, the only thing I could tell him was like, "Hey, listen, I think you guys need help here." And I said, "I'm big, as you see me," but I was like, "I can make myself very small, you know?" And he goes, "Well, we'll see." And that night, I was all right. I love impressions. I do impressions.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by the time I got back on the bus at night when we're done, I started doing an impression. I started doing an impression of everybody on the bus and stuff. And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "Okay, you can stay one more day." I
Bought
just made him
yourself
laugh.
one
So
day.
I just made him. I made it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I made him laugh. So he's like, "All right, you got one more day." And so we go. I think the next night was Ziggy's, and we just tore that place apart, and it was amazing. God was packed, and then the next night he goes, "All right, you got one more day. Yeah, you've done good. You got one more day. All right." The next gig was in Austin, Texas, so it was a fly date, and the bus was going to meet us in Atlanta because the band was recording a record, and I was going to need to go to Atlanta after that. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
so he goes, so we go to um, Austin, Texas, on a plane. We go to Texas, dude. The gig is the largest gig I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
There is 40,000 people, uh,
That's
and
insane.
we are opening for ZZ Top.
Oh man.
And it's called called the crawfish boil. It is it's near the I don't know what Austin's like now, but like near the hospital there is a humongous parking lot. Okay. And dude, they just flood this place with people. And I'm not kidding, dude. That was the third show. I'm like, I've got to do this. You know what I mean? I've got to
Yeah.
see this through, dude. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's
it was
huge.
it was huge. It was an unbelievable experience, and the crowd was just insane. It was insane, and to see those guys do it on stage, they are the best. They
Yeah.
are unbelievable.
They put on a
And
good show.
then they're incredible. They're incredible, man. And so that was really fun. Then we go to Georgia to record at Butch Walker's studio, man. The next day, and here we are. And then Butch was in Marvelous 3, and he was just wrapped up Marvelous 3, and he was basically doing a lot of songwriting with Avril Lavigne, um, and other folks like Green Day and Weezer. That pop punk thing was really
Okay.
big.
Yeah.
You know, and so we were trying to, because I mean, they were always, Cowboy Mouth was pretty much always a rock band,
Yeah.
and they had they had some punk roots, man, because our guitar player John Thomas Griffith was in the Red Rockers, which is if you're you new wave uh, punk guys. He was The Red Rockers were had one of the first 10 videos on MTV with their song called China, and he was our guitar player, and he lived in Atlanta, and so he knew all these people
Uh-huh.
in Atlanta. It was just an incredible process to record at that studio, and um, so we worked with this. Our producer had just gotten off the he did a Bowling for Soup record, the
Oh,
one with
wow.
what is it, that song, You Do Madonna, what,
Yeah.
1985. That was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
song that he had a big hit with that. And so we were next. And I think that record, it's called Voodoo Shop. You need to look it up. It's awesome. All of that, most of that was done at Ruby Red, which was Butch Walker's studio, which was a great experience. Also got
Yeah.
a couple of those songs were recorded by Mark Bryan from Hootie and the Blowfish,
Huh.
because he's a good friend of that band.
Very cool.
Yeah, but that was my second, and I toured with them for 2 years, and eventually I became production manager for the whole tours, all the
Uh-huh.
whole tour. But what was crazy, I said it was going to be a 2 week on, 2 week off schedule. Well, that all ended the next week after the studio, because Hurricane Katrina came through and destroyed all of their houses.
Oh,
And so half the band was homeless. And so we were gone for the next 225 days. I
wow.
count, I marked it off on the calendar. Um, we never toured. We usually never toured through the holidays. But we had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I'll just, you know, I'll never forget. There's so many crazy stories about that time. It was a sad time, but we had to be out. Their homes were
Yeah.
destroyed, and
Yeah.
and we just and you know, there's the first we played the first we headlined on one of the stages, uh Jazz Fest, the year after Katrina, and it was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, you want to talk about that? That became the first uh, the largest amount of people we'd ever played in front of, which was like 60,000.
Yeah.
I just couldn't even believe it. It looked like a soccer stadium. Um, it was unbelievable. They hold Jazz Fest at like a Churchill Downs type place. So it's kind of like it's a horse race park.
Uh-huh.
Um, and but it has to be during the day. The city of New Orleans won't flip the bill for lights and stuff.
Too cheap.
Well, it's just like, what they think is like, let's stop this at dusk, because the nightlife during Jazz Fest is unbelievable. So that means that like every single bar and club, of which there are too many to list,
Uh-huh.
they're all going on. So like we would close down Jazz Fest, and we'd have to rent backline, because we have a show at 2 a.m. that starts at 2 a.m. at Tipitina's, which is like, or the Howlin' Wolf, which is like, they're the two like huge clubs. Um, and that's where our real gear was, because it's just that crazy. So we would do
Man,
two shows a night, which is unbelievable. It's so fun. Um,
that is cool.
Yeah, but so that's kind of where the working music journey ends. Is 2 years. I toured 2 years with them. We did. like I said, the first year we were on the road 225 days. And for me, that is too much.
Yeah,
And,
that's a lot.
you know, I, I, I saw my girlfriend, who's now my wife, 2 weeks in 4 months.
Wow.
And it was only because I had to insist that the band fly her out, you know, because we were not even coming close to North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was like, guys, if y'all don't fly her out, I'm going to lose her. There's just no way that I can do this and keep her. And they're like, sure, we'll do it. And it was during a fun run, which is, you know, always great. Like in the summertime, we would always do Boston, New York, and Nantucket. We would spend 4 days in Nantucket.
Uh-huh.
So we would play 2 nights and have 2 days of vacation, and you know, paid for by the band and all that stuff. It was great.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Eat really good food and
Yeah.
drink really well and all that stuff.
Mm. Yummy.
So that's kind of where that stops. And you know, I guess I'm almost 30 at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm 46 now. So I've been out of it. I've been out of it for about 17 years, something like that.
Man.
Fun, it was a fun ride, baby. I did almost 10 years of touring. But I'm glad I did it I'm glad I did it in my 20s, man. I don't even
Yeah.
think I don't think I could even do it at 46. It's crazy. I mean, you know, the days are long. I mean, dude, I've got a friend, the guy who actually I trained for my job is Zach Brown's tour manager now.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think he's their tour manager. He may be in production. I'm not really sure, but he's been with Zach Brown for uh, over 15 years as a big part of their organization.
That's incredible.
Yep, his name is Stuart Blanchard.
Stuart.
Stuart Blanchard. He's a great guy. Yeah, good at what he does.
Stuart, if you're listening, thanks for
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. And close all those tabs because I know you have a bunch to advance with Zach Brown.
Oh
he
man.
showed me you know, with Cowboy Mouth, we didn't have to do, you know, this. I was still making phone calls. I mean, there was no cracking open a laptop and getting on like spreadsheets or doing any of that back then. You know,
Right.
nowadays, there's a whole, you know, software for just touring software.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you've got he had like 100 tabs open just for the shows that they're doing. And you know, you're talking about millions of dollars,
Yeah.
millions, and big shows. I'm talking, man. I bet he does. I bet they do probably a quarter to $500,000 in merchandise a day,
Wow.
like at per show. It's crazy. I know that when he first got on that tour, he was ahead of merchandise. But that's you working your way up, man. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what this is all about. So
And
it's
just
crazy.
digging in and doing what you love and
100%
riding the wave.
riding it. So I'm sorry, man. I tend to get long winded when I talk about this stuff. So if I
No,
go over, I'm sorry.
there is no over. That's why I wanted to have you on because I know you've got good stories and
Oh yeah.
you know even more to share in the future. Now that you're not doing that kind of stuff anymore, do you still feel like music has influenced you um, in some way, even to where you are professionally now? Like, uh, you know, because you're in sales
Yes.
and you've got to be a people person
Oh, 100%.
to be a good salesperson.
Yeah. You
I've
know,
met some non-people people.
yeah, there's some out there that aren't people, uh, you know, are people's people. But the
Yeah.
thing is, they end up selling too, which is really crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, having the gift of gab just comes with what, yeah, with what I've done in my life,
Yeah.
because you have to pass the time somehow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not kidding when I say this. That guy, the guy in Cowboy, Paul Sanchez, he's the best storyteller I've ever I've ever heard. And he tells a lot of great stories through his music. And he's a solo artist now. Y'all listeners need to check him out. Paul Sanchez, he's amazing. Um, uh, but you're right. I mean, I think it comes with the territory of doing this life,
Yeah.
doing that life. And I listen to music constantly, constantly. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's all in my life. It's on my life. I'm so lucky I get to dip my toes into playing shows, which is so fun. Uh, I, I'm addicted to that show, man.
Yeah.
I always have been.
Yeah.
When you go to a show, you go to a concert. I want to know what the guys are, what kind of gear the guys are
Right.
using.
Yeah.
I want to know what amps. Now it's like I want to know what a digital platform they're using.
Right. Got an Axe effects over
You
there
got
or a
an axe.
Kemper?
I know you have the axe effects in there, Betty. But like, oh my god, these guys actually have amps on stage.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are they rocking? I want to know what kind of guitars they've got.
Yeah.
Especially if I love their guitar playing, I want to know that stuff. Just like I wanted to know what Kurt Cobain was saying in Utero.
Uh-huh.
Like that is you were talking like raw. It is raw, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that record didn't have the polish that Nevermind has. But it was that because it's raw, man. That is a raw album. But that's the thing. I mean, it's all over the place. It's constant in my life. My daughters love it. They listen. I all they want to listen to is Taylor Swift. Okay, that's all my daughters want to listen to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I mean, I'll play it if I'm in a good mood. If I'm in a good mood, y'all can play some Taylor Swift. But if I'm I've got to get them here or there, dude. I am rocking my yacht rock station, or I am like, I'm here. I want to hear "Hold the Line" by Toto, baby,
Yes.
Rosanna. That solo is so killer. I
Yeah.
am air guitaring like crazy in my car, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lukather's a beast, man.
oh, dude, unbelievable. And he comes up with all that stuff, like
Yeah.
on all of his sessions, man. He's probably one of the best guitar part writers ever to do it.
Yeah.
He's insane. That's why he was on everybody's stuff,
Right.
because the guy can write parts
Yeah.
straight up, man. Dude is a beast. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's a constant, man. I mean, I'm air guitaring all the time. I mean, that's my deal, man. Air drum and air guitaring. I look like an idiot rolling down the road, man.
Well,
Like that guy's really mad in the car.
in
And I was
the
like, no, it's just me banging
yeah.
away, just on my
It's
drums.
just Tom
Baby.
Sawyer, man. No big deal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, and I think it could be pretty cool when your professional life kind of merges with your love and passion for music.
That's right.
Like when I mean, if we can't talk about this, we'll just edit it out. But like when you had Fralin as a client,
Yeah, yeah,
like you know, uh,
absolutely.
they
So
and not saying that your sales prowess did not get you that gig, but probably the fact that you're a music geek helped out, I would
oh,
imagine.
it was the very reason why um I, that is really not how I like to. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't really just email guys off their website saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, guy, let
You
me
need some
sell you."
paper?
I'm a packaging salesman. Okay, that's what I'm doing. But I don't say, "Hey, man, I really love to sell you the box and shippers that you've got." Even though I'm like, "Oh man, like these guys, it would be a nice dream account to have,
Yeah.
just so that we can talk shop."
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like talking shop. And if I can do that while working, even better.
Bonus.
Yeah, so like companies like Fralin, companies like String Joy, the string manufacturer.
Yeah.
They're new to the game. They're not new to the
I,
game. They're just new. They're just getting out there.
I've been meaning to try
Um,
some of those out.
oh man, you gotta get your hands on some of those,
Gotta
baby.
do it.
They're great. They are great. So I mean,
They
we're
are not an
doing,
official sponsor of this episode, by the way.
but they're it's great when the two things cross paths.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great. And whether it's corrugated or doing something cool like design wise, man, oh my gosh, I love doing those. I just call them passion projects.
Yeah.
you know I mean, that is it's a dream. It's a dream to do that.
Man,
So fun.
that's so cool. Well, this might be a good place to conclude this episode.
Oh, why now?
Right. I have so much more. That's okay. There's always we got to make room for future content. We can't just
Sure.
do it all right now.
I know.
Here's a 3-hour episode.
Hey,
Jeez.
if you like really long formats.
We got to put that on the Patreon or something. People have to pay for that stuff.
Love it. Love
Um,
it.
but Rick, man, thanks for
Oh,
hanging out and
you're the man.
sharing. And
Of
um,
course.
I think that's one of the great things about doing this show is just learning how people, well, first off, just finding out how music has influenced them and has shaped their lives, and just kind of going through that journey as they tell their
Oh yeah.
stories. I mean, it's incredible.
It
Um,
is incredible. It
so
is incredible. And it's such a, you know, it's such a huge. I hear people sometimes. I'll say, hey, you know, what do we're trying to find out what somebody's interests are,
yeah,
and they're like, I'm not really a music person. I'm like, how is that possible? How? It's in everything.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, every dang commercial has a jingle.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
music is everywhere.
I mean,
It's everywhere.
everything's
Like,
got
how
a
do you?
rhythm.
It's I'm
The
like,
wind, the the
yeah.
earth. It's all
I don't want to
around
know
us.
people like that. I don't want to know people like that.
Yeah.
It's
It's like
crazy.
something's wrong with them.
It's true.
Might have to edit that out. We got to stay middle of the
All
road here.
jokes
But
aside.
also, if somebody's not into music, they're not going to listen to this podcast anyway. So
Right? Come on, losers.
screw them. Oh man. But
Exactly.
yeah. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll have to do this again.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, so Rick Hitchcock, man, what a character. What a set of stories. Um, Weekend Excursion, talented band out of North
Yes.
Carolina. And then Cowboy Mouth. I don't know. I'm sure there might be some listeners who are like, who the heck is Cowboy Mouth? But if you were around in the 90s, if you were, um, I guess it was late high school, early college, dude, man, that band was huge. They were, they were
Yeah,
everywhere. Like they were kind
I
of
think I've heard them.
on the
Hmm.
Edwin McCain circuit.
Edwin McCain.
Yeah,
Yes.
they kind of went around with they were kind of lumped in with that kind of stuff of the era. But yeah, Cowboy Mouth, they had that song, Janie says, turn off the radio. Janie says, turn out the light.
Oh, that
And
was the yes, right.
yeah,
That was.
yeah.
I
And
remember that song
the
now.
lead singer like always wore overalls.
Hmm.
I tell you, man, that was what a time to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and Rick's story as far as going through all of that was just amazing. Like his ups and downs through it
yeah,
all,
yeah,
was just was telling, and also it was kind of refreshing to know, because sometimes when you hear other people's stories like that, it's like, okay, so either it's not that bad, or I just need to keep moving because
yeah,
it's not what it seems.
right,
Sometimes you hear, how, the story about when he talked about being in the house.
yeah,
They lived in a house together. I thought
yeah,
that was interesting because that wasn't the first time I've heard that, but I heard it on the other end as far as with rappers. They when they get ready to do an album, they will get the producers and the engineers, and they get a house or a studio, and they lock themselves
yeah,
in
yeah,
until it's done. But to hear it told the way he told it,
yeah,
it was like, it's like they went head in. Everything is all in or it's nothing. And I thought that was
right,
really cool.
yeah. And when he was sharing about going on tour with Cowboy Mouth, and it was supposed to be kind of this short little deal, and then Katrina happened, and half the band doesn't have a home to come home to, so they had to stay out on the
Oh
road.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh,
That's gotta be tough, man.
and you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. Again, kind of like we were talking at the top of the episode, you have all these plans and these ideas. It's just, related to the show, and as small and insignificant as that is, um, sometimes that can even, throw us for a loop. But you, I just imagine from Rick's point of view, you're doing this job that you love, and you're starting it with this new group, and you're excited, and you plan to just kind of do this short stint because like you got a girlfriend, and yeah, hey, maybe one day she'll be your wife, and you do want to see her, and then all of a sudden this catastrophic event happens, and you have to stay out on the road,
Yeah.
that you don't have any
Yeah,
other
that's gotta be
choice.
tough.
Yeah. And on one hand, it's like, oh man, maybe that was pretty cool, because if you really like doing that stuff, or the guys in
And
the
you're getting
band,
paid.
right? But also at the same time, to do, even if you're doing something you love, if you're being made to do it, essentially, that's got to put a whole new feel on what you're doing, because now you're not doing it because it's something you love to do. You're doing it because you have to survive. You really got some bills to pay now.
Yeah, that's gotta be tough. To even go through that, because for one, you're away from your living area, whether it be your home or if you're staying with, your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, you're away from them.
Yeah,
That's one. And you know that you can't come back because it's nothing to come back to.
right.
So it's kind of a twofold thing, you know. I mean, that could weigh on a person's mental, that you're out. I mean, because some people could think, you're out having fun because you're touring, and I'm home. I'm here in the town where we live with no place to stay, and it could get rough. I can imagine, but it takes a different person or a strong person, strong people, especially in a relationship, to be able to go through that and understand that, okay, this is just temporary. We
Yeah,
hit a moment, we hit a pocket, hit some turbulence, but you know, being that he was able to still work, I think,
yeah,
may have been an outlet for him, that, okay, I don't have a home, but I'm bringing in some income to better myself, to better my home, to have a better home, or whatever, your goal may be. But I thought it was interesting when he was saying that, look, guys, if y'all don't fly my girlfriend out here, I'm out of here.
yeah, yeah. That was
And I
good.
could totally, I could totally understand it. He's like, look, guys, I've had enough. I love you. I like what I'm doing, but I love her a little bit more.
Right.
So I don't want a roadie. I don't want to fix. I want my woman here now. What's that? JT
Yeah.
Whitworth. I want my woman here now.
Yeah. I have a structured settlement and I need
And I
cash
want,
now.
I want her now. Well, wait a minute.
Call
Did that
cowboy
say?
mouth so they can fly your girlfriend here.
Oh man, that would. You know what? We
It-
could do. You know what? Okay, never mind. Have Rick. Rick, you did a great job.
Yep. Loved having Rick on the show. I'm very sure that he's gonna be a return guest because I know some of the other stories that he didn't share, and we got to let him
Those,
talk
I
about
want
it.
to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I want to hear those.
Yeah, bro.
Hopefully I can be there too, because I want. I mean, his really, really compelling, and
Yeah.
for someone with his background, I mean,
It's
he's
just
done a
interesting.
lot. Yeah, he's done, and the main part, what I got out of it is he can play guitar, but he wasn't actually in the band.
Right.
You
Yep.
know, he was, and he has all of these stories and people that he made that he met, um, and things that he did, and he wasn't even, I mean, but again, he plays the instrument, but he wasn't a band member as far as when the lights go on and the show starts, he wasn't on stage.
Yeah. And
And
and to
to
be
hear
okay
that
with
was
that.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like he fit the role perfect because he was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is my role. I'm good with it. Let's roll.
Yeah. Um, so I've said this before and I'll probably keep saying it until this show ceases to be, but I'm just continually encouraged by the stories that all our guests have shared because there is one thing so far that has just been a common thread, and that is people have found their success when they decided to do what they felt they were supposed to do. And even though it may have been scary, even though um, it may not have made worldly sense, um, it's just hearing the stories where people are like, I I've always known I wanted to do this, or I love music so much, I've got to make it part of my life somehow, professionally.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
we have some other interviews coming up where the same stories are shared. Um, I won't give too much away, but one that's coming up, an old friend of mine, he knew in middle school and high school what he wanted to do, and nothing else would substitute that. There was no other option.
Sink or
And
swim.
yeah, and it's just like, God, I look back on my life and the times that I've felt that, I want to do something that I know I'm built to do, but I'm just so freaked out that it might not work out or it isn't the right move or whatever. And that's not to say that every situation's different, but I think a lot of us can relate to the fact that we have those callings from inside our hearts, within ourselves, and we know what we like and we know what we can be successful at. And sometimes that requires kind of jumping out into the unknown, and it can be scary, but it's encouraging to hear these stories of people who have done that and find out that, hey, their world didn't fall apart.
No,
And
actually, it improved in some aspects of it
yeah,
from the learning experience.
yeah. And I don't know. I think if you and I get nothing else out of doing this venture than just to find encouragement in other people's stories, I think this is more than time well spent doing all of this, but hopefully it's a sense of encouragement or a source of encouragement to our listeners. You know, if somebody's
Hmm.
out there listening right now who's on the fence about some sort of decision they have to make, and it doesn't even obviously have to be music related, but could be about a career, it could be a relationship, it could be anything. Um, I think sometimes we don't listen to ourselves and we listen to everybody else. And if those two voices are wholly separate, then something might be wrong. Um,
Yeah.
and again, that's not to say that sometimes selfish desires or plans or whatever kind of muddy the waters a little bit, but like you know who you are and what you can and cannot do and what your passions are and what you think or know that you're good at. Um, I don't know. I think it's just time for people to stop selling themselves short and just go for it.
Yeah, just do it. I mean, it was a commercial years ago that said just do it. And it's so relevant
Yeah.
to your life. Sometimes we second guess ourselves out of a better situation,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's the fear of unknown.
Yeah.
And we kind of we dwell instead of just deciding we doing it and jump out there and do it. I think a lot of times we just, well, what if this and what if that? And I always try
Oh
to
yeah.
resort back to what I feel. I use the 50-50 rule. And I say there's 50% that it could go wrong, 50% that it can go right. But I
Yeah.
think as humans, we naturally lean towards the 50% that's wrong
Uh-huh.
instead of leaning towards the 50% that's right. Because when
You
you just starting out, it could go either way.
mm-hmm.
But how you feel in your actions and your motivation, because sometimes if you talking yourself out of you having doubts, you're
Yeah.
gonna act accordingly. You
It,
know, you're not
it's a
you're gonna be like, yes, it's gonna be like, well, I might do this or this may work, but you're not gonna be strong willed at it. And I think if you can just change that to make it strong willed to say, you know what, I am going to do this, I am going to figure this out, then
yeah.
I think you're more motivated to do that.
It's a lot easier to talk yourself out of doing something
Yeah. And then on
because
the other hand of that, they say, what's the hardest thing to do? Start.
yeah. Yeah, because talking yourself into doing it, like it requires action. To talk yourself out, you don't have to do anything. You just say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it." Doesn't
Yeah.
take any work.
Not at all. I'm done. It's a wrap. I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's easy to do.
Yeah.
So it's hard to stick in because as soon as the roads get cluttered
Yeah.
and the skies get cloudy, you're like, man, see, I knew it, and then you bounce off.
Yep.
But where
Yeah.
where you were before, the road got the road got cloud. I mean, the skies got cloudy, and the road got dark where you were before. But all
Yep.
you did was complain and kept going. Now you just change that.
Yeah.
Don't complain, just keep going.
Well, and we've kind of talked about this in earlier episodes. And if you haven't heard this before, then maybe you should listen to some earlier episodes. But I mean, we did the same thing with this show. Um, it took us a long time to end up where we're at because we talked ourselves out of this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
maybe not the podcast specifically, but just musical ventures in general, both individually and collectively. Um, and then even when we decided that the podcast was where we're going to land, it still kind of took some convincing because it was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, is this really what we want to do? And it's in any time that you're producing something for someone, there's always that fear of failure. There's always that fear of rejection. And I mean, again, we're creating stuff and people in different countries are listening to us. And it's like, golly, it's kind of a lot of pressure, but it's also encouraging to to continue to move forward with it.
Absolutely.
You
I
know,
totally agree with that.
with our little technical difficulties last week, if we were already kind of down on ourselves and going, "Oh man, is this podcast even something we really need to keep doing?" And then we hit that first
Hmm.
little speed bump, where it the format wasn't going to be what it's usually been. We could have been like, "Oh, see, I knew it. We can't even. We're barely 7, 8 episodes into this thing, and the wheels are already falling off." But
Yep. Wrap it up. Let's go.
yeah,
Time to wrap it up. Can't
nobody's
do
going to
it.
listen. Nobody cares. You can really get in your own head and just self-destruct. Um,
Oh man, I know because I was almost there. Like I said,
yeah,
when I was in the corner, I was
yeah,
no man, you don't I mean you hit that right on the head. I mean, it's just I I I I enjoy doing this so much to the point to when I'm not doing it or if I can't do it, I feel a certain way,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, me too.
because I feel like this is the path that we need to be on.
Yeah,
And just like Rick's story, it's just like of course we're not picking up moving into an apartment or a house, just you and I with podcast equipment
yeah,
and just
not yet
say we're going to
anyway.
knock out 100 episodes. We're not going to leave this bill. But in that sense, it's like in our separate own way, it's like I got to be dedicated to this. Just like I get up every morning to go to my job, I
Yeah,
have to every week do something in ecospective to order for this to grow. I can't expect anybody to do for us what I think it should be,
yeah,
unless I do it. So when you're not able to, it's just like, man, and like you said, it was so easy just to say, you know what, Nate, I'm out, man. I don't have
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
But no, it's just like, okay, you punch me, I'm punching back.
yeah. And it's all about pivoting. Um, just
Pivot.
yeah, a little Friends reference. Um, just like in Rick's story, again, going out on the road thinking you're going to do 2 on, 2 off for however long, and then all of a sudden, uh, you're on the road for 200 and some days. Like, you got to pivot.
Yeah.
you, you,
Pivot.
you you gotta be flexible, um, and patient and willing to.
And he could have, and going back to his story, it's funny now that now everything's starting to pop up in my head. I
Yeah,
hate
right.
that. It's just like you get into an argument and you can't say anything, and then
And
once you get in your
another
car, you drive
thing.
home, you're like, and another thing. But now you're like 2 hours removed from it, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't, behoove you to say anything. So you just got to eat it.
yeah.
But
What I
when
should have
he,
said was,
yeah, when he was talking about how I guess I don't not necessarily say it wasn't wanted, but he kept going. He kept showing up.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, well, you're not going to be the fit for me. Oh well, you don't think, but I'm here too. It's going to take more than that to
yeah,
get me away because I'm invested in this,
yeah.
and
We're all here for
by
the
that
same thing.
mindset, yeah, and going back to what we just talked about the just do it, about the confidence. He could have just said, well, I thought because he was there from what I understand, and he was going there, he was on cloud nine because he was just so happy to be a part of that. And then for someone just to shoot him down like that, he could have been like, you know what? All right, I'm just going back home.
Yeah.
But he fought through it. And it turned out that, you know, no, we want you here now.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Um,
Yes. We
I think
appreciate it
I think that's kind of
so
it.
much.
So we got this day in
Yeah.
music
And again,
coming up.
before we get out of here, yeah, this
Oh,
damn
yeah,
music. Oh, I'm talking over you.
that's
Let's try
okay.
again. Go ahead. You got it. And we still doing it. Oh, yep. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you go. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So this damn music coming up, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, call us
yeah.
336-298-8124. Your social, not your social number, but you can go to your
Social media.
socials, Facebook, X, social medias, and send us a message as well. And send us a coffee. Well, no, don't send us a coffee. You know what? You handle that.
That's right. They'll figure it out. All right,
Yeah.
guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Echo Spectre.
This day in music. Let's get it. Yo, did you know that this day in music, February 28th, 1970, Simon and Garfunkel began a 6-week run at the top of the Billboard 100 with Bridge Over Troubled Water. Wow. Also, it became one of the most performed songs of the 20th century, with notable recordings by Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, and Aretha Franklin, among others. That is a good party to be in. That's definitely a good party. Bridge Over Troubled Water. What up? This day in music, 1986, George Michael and Andrew Wrigley announced that Wham! With the exclamation mark. Do not forget the exclamation mark after Wham! They would split up and have a farewell show June 28, 1986, with 72,000 fans in attendance. Their farewell show at London's Wembley Stadium on June 28, 1986, with 72,000 fans in attendance. Go ahead, George Michael. We're going to follow that up, though, with this day in music, 1984, the greatest of all time, Michael Jackson took home a record-breaking 8 awards at the 26th Annual Grammys. Out of his 12 nominations, Jackson earned Record of the Year for Beat It and Album of the Year for Thriller, while Billie Jean won Best Pop Vocal Performance, Best R&B Performance, and Best R&B Song. I remember that. I watched that Grammy. I remember that Grammy. Oh, I was so excited. Yes, and those of you that listen to the story, echospective about me, know that I was in the Prince. Yeah, I know that. I can like both. All right, I like both. I had the glitter socks too, and the glove. I like, you know what, this day in music, 1983. In 1983, U2 released their third studio album, War. Came number one by knocking Michael Jackson's Thriller out of the top spot. And that was on, that was their first gold, certified gold album in the U.S. Go ahead, U2. I remember them too. They were awesome. This day in music. Adele, 2016, was at number one on the UK and US album chart with her third studio album, 25. Go ahead, Adele. This day in music. This day in music. Uh-oh, we can't have a This Day in Music without Boy George. Let's see. Boy George pleaded not guilty to falsely imprisoning a male chaining him to the wall. Yo, I told y'all, this is not music. Who's writing this? February 28th. No, he wasn't even making music. You know what? This day in music. As we continue on. Oh, This Day in Music, 1997. Suge Knight was sentenced to 9 years in prison for violating his probation for the 1995 assault conviction. Yo, what is this day in music? I think I got some music for you, all right? Don't hold it against me, but I think I have some music for you. February 28th, 1996, Grammy Award winners included Alanis Morissette, who won Album of the Year for Jagged Little Pill, Best Female Rock Vocal, and Best Song for You Ought to Know, which was the classic. Also, Nirvana's Unplugged won Best Alternative Album, and Coolio Best Rap Performance with Gangsta's Paradise, 1996. And that's a good group right there. I can roll with that. 1994, This Day in Music. Eric Clapton played his 100th performance at London's Royal Albert Hall. Say that like back straight, shoulders out. Performance at the London's Royal Albert Hall. Oh, a young Clapton first graced the Royal Albert Hall's famous stage on December 7, 1964, with the Yardbirds as part of a BBC two-top beat concert. The Yardbirds. This Damn Music, 1989. Bob Dylan recorded the first sessions of the Oh Mercy album at the studio in New Orleans, Louisiana. What became Dylan's 26th studio album, released by Columbia Records in September 1989. Cool. This day. Day in music. This Day in Music. Okay, Paul Simon, 1976. Still Crazy After All These Years. That's a loaded song title. Was named Best Pop Vocal Performance and Album of the Year at the 18th Grammy Awards. In his acceptance speech, he said, "I would like to thank Stevie Wonder for not releasing an album this year." That's when Stevie was on the roll. Believe me, Stevie was on the roll with this album. He was popping them up. Fleetwood Mac. This Damn Music, 1970. In an interview with the New Musical Express, Fleetwood Mac's Peter Green talked about his plans to give all his money away. The following year, Green confronted his accountant with a gun after he sent him an unwanted royalty check. The guitarist went to jail briefly before transferred to an asylum and was committed to a mental hospital. All right, for real. What is going on with This Day in Music? This Day in Music. In 1942, This Day in Music, English musician and composer Brian Jones, best known as founder and original leader of the Rolling Stones, Jones placed an advertisement in Jazz News May 2nd, 1962, inviting musicians to audition for a new R&B group. So, Jones came up with the name, the Rolling Stones, while on the phone with the venue owner, who asked him, "What are you called? What are your names?" Jones saw a copy of The Best of Muddy Waters lying on the floor. And track one was, you guessed it, Rolling Stone Blues. When Jones developed alcohol and drug problems, he became increasingly unreliable. The Stones dismissed him in June of 1969. Jones died July 3rd, 1969, after drowning in a swimming pool. This Day in Music. Wow, what a story. Today's episode was supported by Trimark Turf Solutions. Go to TrimarkTurf.com.
Echospective was recorded and produced in Mockingbird Studios. Brought to you by Marquise Burke and Nathan Sieg, and in part by their respective families. We thank you all so much for pushing us to strive for excellence. And we thank you, the listener. Your support means everything.